Salut Français toi, aujourd'hui on va parler du conditionnel. Allez-y. The conditionnel is a mood. It is a mood to express hypothetical situations. In English, we translate it as would. Anytime you want to say I would do this, we would do that, we use the conditional. It can be used to make a polite request or offer up a suggestion. Voilà deux exemples. Si j'avais de l'argent, if I had money, what would you do? Je voyagerais. I would travel. There's an example of the conditional. J'achèterais une maison. I would buy a house. Voilà deux exemples. Premier, comment est-ce qu'on crée? Comment est-ce qu'on fait le conditionnel? The stem is the infinitive. We're going to drop the E if our verb is an RE verb. That way our stem always ends in R, which hopefully sounds familiar to you. Here are our endings. A, ion, a. Now, wait a second. Do those endings look familiar to you? Hopefully they do, because they are the same endings as the imperfect tense, which we have already learned. Alright, so that is true, but let's listen, see if we can hear the difference between the two tenses. J'aimais jouer au foot. Alright, there's a review at the end of this video. I will do a little review of the imperfect. It's used to describe things in the past, alright, how things used to be. Here is j'aimerais, that's our conditional. I would like to play soccer, so there's a distinct difference when we hear j'aimais, j'aimerais. There's an extra syllable because we kept the entire infinitive as our stem. Voilà quelques exemples. Nous formes à gagner, nous gagnerions, we would win. Tu choisirais, you would choose. Ils vendraient, they would sell. So we always have the R sound in there somewhere. Now, of course, we're going to run into some irregular stems. All right, here they are for us. Ir, or, cours, d'œuvre, sur, envers, faire. Are they looking familiar? I hope so. These are the same irregular stems as the future simple. Alright, so if you have all your irregular stems, if you memorize them from the future simple, then you're all set because they are absolutely the same. Here are the rest. Faudre, pour, recevoir, sur, viendre, vers, and voudre. Alright, remember too, recevoir is like apercevoir. They do the same thing at the end. And the same other spelling changes that applied for the future apply here. ER, we got that E to E, grave. Se lever, me leverai. Achèterai is another one that falls in that category. You also had the double consonants like jeter. So give it a try. Pause the video and try these out, and I'll go over the answers. Je mangerai. Nous irions. Tu finiras. Elle achètera. Achèterai. Vous attendriez. Alright, let's talk about the conditionnel, the politesse, situations we would use conditional. You're especially going to see it with vouloir, pouvoir, devoir when we want to be very polite. And actually, if you look at je voudrais, it's one of the very first things we learned. This is the conditional. I would like to speak to you. It's a little bit more polite than I want to speak to you. Same thing. Pourrais-tu m'aider? Would you be able to help me? Tu devrais. You should study. This is a polite suggestion instead of, ordering somebody what to do. We can use devoir. This is what you should do in the conditional. Alright, now we have learned 3 different tenses that all have many, many similarities to them. So I kind of wanted you to see the verb aimer in all 3 situations. Alright, review the imperfect. Our stem was the new form. Okay? So, aimant, take off the ONS, we're left with AIM as our stem. Alright, and here are your endings, a, ion, a. Compare with the conditional. I kept these in pink because the endings are the same. but the stem is different. You've got aimerait. We have the whole infinitive as our stem here. All right, compare that with the future, where you can see here the stem is the same, aimer, but the endings are different. So conditional, j'aimerais, j'aimerais in the future, they sound the same. Tu aimerais, tu aimeras. Il aimerait, il aimera. Aimerions, nous aimerons. Aimeriez, aimerait, aimerait, aimeront. Okay, so there's many similarities, and we're going to start to getting them confused. So we want to take a look and just take your time and make sure we're separating them. All right. The next step, talking about the conditionnel, is talking about our phrase conditionnelle. We call them C clauses because they are if-then statements. We saw them in the future, and they happen with the conditional as well. So there's this condition or possibility, and the result will be dependent upon that condition. And in French, there's a very particular order of the tenses that you must follow. And we have three types of sentences. We have conditions that are very likely, conditions that are unlikely, conditions that are impossible. We've actually already talked about likely ones, and today we're going to talk about unlikely ones. So the likely conditional clause is C plus the present tense. It can be followed by the present. If it rains, I go to the movies. It's just a general statement. It can be a command. If it rains, go to the movies. Or this is what we talked about, the future. All right. If it rains, I will go to the movies. All right. That's what we were working on with the future and C clauses. Now, we are going to talk today about unlikely conditional clauses. All right. This is if something were to happen. It's not very likely, but if it were to happen, what would we do? So that follows the construction of C plus the imperfect plus the conditional. If it were raining, I would go. All right, so this is why it's important that we remember how to form the imparfait. So here's our imparfait. S'il pleuvait, if it were raining. It kind of implies that it's not, and it's probably not going to. But if it were, all right, this is what I would do. J'irais. That C clause can begin or end the sentence. So for example, I could say, I would go to the movies if it were raining. Just do a little flip-flop there. So let's compare, all right, that first one with the future and the likely, all right? So we have, this is what we learned before, C plus the present plus the future. S'il pleut, if it rains, j'irai, I will go. This is more likely than this one, if it were raining. That's your unlikely one. This is the likely one. If it's raining, all right, I will go to the movies. So there's the difference between those two. Unlikely. Likely. All right. Essayez, finissez les phrases avec le conditionnel. Think about what you would do in the following situation. Si je gagnais la loterie. If I won the lottery. Si j'étais, if I were a French student. S'il neigeait, if it were snowing. Si j'étais en vacances, if I were on vacation. Again, these are all unlikely because if I said if I were on vacation, all right, it implies that basically I'm not. Okay? You can stop here, or if you need a little review of the imparfait, you can keep on keeping on. D'accord? All right? Bring these into class. Au revoir. So a little bit of a review of the imperfect. We use it as was or were plus ing, things we used to do. We also use it to describe how people were and what happened repeatedly in the past. We form it with the new form as our stem. Take off the ONS and we do a.k.a, i.a. All right, again, we said the same endings as the conditional. So here are some examples. Take off that ONS, here's your stem, chanter. I was singing, I used to sing. Avoir, stem is ab, aviez, y'all had, you used to have. Gotta look out, remember verbs like étudier, because here's our stem has an I in it, but then if we do the new form, we have those two I's, or the vous form. Look out. And then the only irregular one was, être, because être, the new form is nous sommes. There's no ONS to take off, so we ended up with été. été, été, étions, étiez, été. So our stem is that E with an accent aigu, T. And here are a couple examples for you. Vous parliez, finissez, prenez, recevez, and vendez. So that's a little crash course reminder in the Imparfait. Merci et au revoir.